And then when the government promises money, they deliver. Why? Because they can print, literally. They got the Federal Reserve. Get the government out of loans, and then get the Federal Reserve out of this country.
Guys, the Department of Education is panicking, as well as all of the providers of student loans. They are panicking because 25% of everybody is either in default or about to be in it, because all of us are collectively saying, fuck student loans, we ain't paying.
They're not worried about it. They have the power to garnish your wages and to also withhold your tax returns. Any assets that you're trying to like pass down to your kids when you die, they can sell that shit. Any social security checks that you think you may be cashing in down the line, they will confiscate that and put that towards your student loans. Yeah, the banks and stuff do not worry about this. Why should they? Government has completely backed this with every future dollar that they make. They're going to get their money and they're going to pay it back, and they're probably going to be paying interest for the rest of their life. And that's tough. It's not something to brag about. This is going to hurt in the long run. You're going to have to take a 15% haircut on your earnings for the rest of your life. I don't know how you're going to pull this one off with a 15% cut in your income forever and the lowering of your credit. So you're going to have a real tough time taking out loans and getting a bank to give you even more money, because obviously you're not paying this loan back.
Okay, so you can see here, the numbers have increased since this article was written on the Department of Education's website. I'll share the link later. But almost 10 million of the 40 million aren't paying, haven't paid, are about to get their wages garnished because of predatory capitalism. But the thing
Predatory
is,
capitalism.
I think those numbers are even wrong. I think more of us are not paying, because you got to keep in mind the deference, the forbearance, all of those, and that leads that number, that 25%, up to 40%.
I'm in my second
That's
year of
crazy.
medical school, and this is my current student debt, $191,000, and it literally goes up by hundreds every single day. And I currently have $8 in my bank account. It's like about $100,000 a year. And I think just right now in my mind, it's not real money, because if I think of it that way, then I'm just going to freak out every single day. So I honestly try not to think about it as much as I can and just trust that I'll be able to pay it off one day.
You don't really try to think about much most of the time, do you?
Them, because like you get into your career and then you have $500,000 of debt. Mind you, I'm going to accrue more than 200,000 by the end of this. It's like I'm paying to give up so many years of my life to work for free, to help other people who need it, to go to underserved areas. Like I'm paying you to do that.
There is something to say about this predatory student loan practice. The way that the government has solidified themselves as the one who's co-signing all these loans. The government is responsible for these loans. Imagine being a bank and somebody wants to take out a student loan, and they have the effing United States government as the co-signer. Imagine being the bank in that situation. You're going to give a loan out to everybody. Is it really your fault, though, the bank? Is the bank at fault because the government decided to co-sign all these loans? No. Any bank would do that. It's not the bank's fault. It's the government's fault for getting themselves into the co-signing of all of these loans. Just imagine doing that. Imagine being a bank, and now all of a sudden you have literal 18-year-old kids, all right, who are oftentimes dumber than kids. Like, when you're 18 years old, that's probably the stupidest point of your life. Like, that's when you are the dumbest. You may be smarter when you're 1 year old than you are when you're 18. Anyways, you're an 18-year-old retard, and now you want to go to college. Great. And I have a bank. And the government is going to co-sign your loan. I'm not even going to care. I'm not going to ask no questions. I'm not going to check your credit score. I'm not going to see if you made any payments recently. I don't give a shit. The government has the responsibility. The burden is on the government to pay the bank back. Why do banks love this? Well, because the government has the power to print money by selling T-bills to the Federal Reserve. And then they give the money straight to the government by buying. They buy the notes. They buy the 52-week T-bills or whatever the hell. And that money goes straight into the treasury. It's fucking fake. Get the government out of these student loans and all of these problems go away. All of them. It'll get very hard to get a student loan. The banks will be scrutinizing everything like you are when you go to buy a house, like you are when you're going to take out a big loan on anything. They're going to ask you questions like, yo, what's going on? What's up? What's your income? Blah, 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 blah. That's what it's going to be like to get a student loan. Not this, you click a few buttons on the computer and whiz bang bam, $50,000 in your account that you can use for school if you want. Is it the bank's? It's not the bank's fault. I would do the same thing as a bank. I would give everybody a student loan. Why? Because the government has promised the money on that. They promised it. And then when the government promises money, they deliver. Why? Because they can print, literally. They got the Federal Reserve. Get the government out of loans, and then get the Federal Reserve out of this country. That's the sickest part of it all.
If anything, there should just be no payment at all. But I'm just trying not to stress about it, because if I think about it, then I'm just going to freak out. So, yeah.
Once our student loan deferments are up and the big beautiful bill is officially enacted, we are all about to be broke as hell, y'all. Bro. Those of you who don't know, once the new income-based repayment plan goes into effect, you have to pay 15% of your discretionary income. I need y'all to go and Google right now and enter in your gross yearly income, and 15% of the discretionary income is what your estimated monthly payment is going to be. Like, why are they even considering what I make in a year gross? That money doesn't hit my account. And so it's just like, if y'all are on the save plan now and you're in the forbearance and you're not accruing any interest, please, for the love of God, take this opportunity and start making payments. Take it seriously, because 15% of your discretionary income is actually wild. And I think mine are going to be between $500 to $600 a month. And so let's not panic, but let's build a plan. Let's start budgeting. Let's start taking this very seriously. Because for one, they're not forgiving them. We could kiss that goodbye. Unless you're in the one of those fields that if you pay for 10 years, I think they're still keeping that. They might have upped it to 15 years, but...
And they shouldn't even do that. The government should not be subsidizing these. When you do that, the taxpayer is going to pay it. And by the taxpayer, I mean basically inflation pays for it. So you end up paying for it anyway through inflation. They don't teach that shit in college. When you get your loan forgiven or the government says it's good, the taxpayer is footing the bill. But not really, because that implies that the taxpayer is actually the one that's funding the government. They're not. Debt is funding the government. The government is selling its debt to the Federal Reserve, which prints money to buy the debt. Inflation is running this shit. Every single time you get a loan forgiven or some dumb shit like this, you print money and you have to pay for it through inflation. So these students, these kids who are going to college and getting their student loans forgiven or on some stupid save plan or something retarded, where ultimately the taxpayer foots the bill through inflation. These kids have no idea that they're ending up paying for it by having increased prices or a devalued dollar. The whole thing is cancerous. The whole thing is self-feeding itself to destruction. You get more bad loans, more bad students, idiots going to school, learning nothing, just to keep the money flowing. This cannot go on. At some point, we're going to reach a level at which prices are way too high and inflation has won. And I think we're on our way there. And this video has gone on for way too long. I need to head to work. Peace.